Off camera, I did modify this other alternator bracket to become a power steering bracket. Don't ask too many questions. You can do things like that if you're not afraid. And hey y'all, Rusty here. I'm not looking forward to pulling this engine out, but we got to do it. So first thing is, I don't think my engine puller would be tall enough, would go high enough to pull this engine out with the height of this truck. So I'm going to take the wheels and tires off and then lower it down on the jack stands. And I think that's going to give me a couple more inches to work with to get the motor out when the time comes. So that's what I'm going to do first. Alright, I think everything else is free that I need to get free, except for one bolt on this exhaust manifold on the driver's side, because I couldn't get to it because the motor mount's a little bit in the way. I'm sure they dropped this thing in with those top motor mount plates, but anyways, there was missing bolts everywhere. 2 missing bolts on the transmission, at least 3 missing bolts on the motor mounts. So yeah, it's a good thing I'm pulling this thing out. So anyways, let's get to it and see if it's gonna come out clean. I'm gonna jack it up about a couple of inches so I can get to that one exhaust manifold, and then we'll pull it out the whole way, and I'll adjust the camera angles accordingly. Now the GoPro was about to die, but in any case, there's a freeze plug behind this motor mount. This one you could get to without taking the engine out, right here. Same for this one. This one doesn't look too bad. That one doesn't look too bad. Then we got this one in the very back, which would have been obscured by the transmission. Same thing for that side. But the ones that were leaking was this one behind the starter and this one behind the motor mount. And remarkably, this motor mount has all 3 bolts. The other one just fell off. So I'm gonna knock those freeze plugs out after a little bit. Right now I'm gonna put the engine down and adjust that chain so we don't have a total freaking debacle like I just had. I'm gonna put it down on a tire I have in the bed of my other truck. That way I can adjust the chain without damaging the engine any. And then we're gonna knock all those freeze plugs out and try not to take off anything more than I have to. It looks like I gotta take the starter off, take that motor mount off. These front ones I should be able to knock out and replace without doing anything. That one too, and that one. So, and I'm pretty sure I can get that one in there and out of there without taking this flex plate off. But if I have to take it off, I'll just take it off and put it back on. No big deal. Alright, on purpose I didn't touch these two, and I hope you can see on the video, these were the ones that were leaking. So let's see, we got this one was leaking right here. You can kind of see the rust and everything. There was a whole little pinhole where water was coming out down there. And same thing for this one behind the motor mount. So we're gonna knock those out, and then I'm gonna replace them. My GoPro died while I was pulling the motor out. Sorry about that. It didn't come out super easy. We had to fight for it, so you can imagine that. But anyways, I'm gonna knock these two out real time for you. and hopefully they come out easy. Probably make a fool out of me, who knows. Had to go turn my air compressor off so that doesn't turn on. So the best way I found to get them out, if they're going to come out easy, is to knock them in with the socket and then pull them out with a freaking adjustable wrench. We're gonna flush this motor pretty good whenever it's all said and done here too. Oh, you can see the hole real good now. I only knocked it in with this, but there's a big hole formed from knocking the rust clean. So yeah, and it won't slide down. So I'm gonna have to use this little punch or whatever and kind of knock it to the side. There we go. Sometimes there's so much crud in there that they won't actually turn like you want them to, so you can pull them out. And that's what the problem I was having with the other one. This one we got it though. All right. There we go. That's one down. And there's a bunch of crud in here. Like old rust and mud and stuff. See? We're gonna flush this baby out real good. We're gonna put the garden hose in and let her rip from all the different ports. I'll probably get the pressure washer out as well, but that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, see, that one just knocked that thin metal loose. There's no way I poked a hole in it with this. It's just that the rust was just barely hanging on. Oh, that one went in all the way. So if we can get this to turn, see if you can get it to turn. Oh, I'm gonna lose it down the cylinder. If you can get it to turn like this, then it's real easy to pull out, but sometimes they won't turn because there's so much garbage in there. There we go. Yeah, you can kind of see how the metal was getting eaten away on the inside. All right, well, that's all the freeze plugs. So now all I got to do is pick up all my bolts and nuts and stuff so I don't lose any, and then I'm going to commence the washing this thing out, and then I'll bring you back for a time lapse when I'm knocking the new ones back in. Hey, just a friendly tip, in case you guys don't know, you should always get the brass freeze plugs. They won't rust out like those others. But I bought brass colored freeze plugs from AutoZone and O'Reilly's before, and they're not actually brass like this one is. And just in case you're wondering, this magnet does work, right? See? But we got nothing. Nothing for the brass freeze plug. Does make a nice sound though. There we go. Nice. Anyways, I'm gonna get to work installing these babies, and yeah, we're on the process of putting this thing back together, which is always the easier part, because now I got all the tools standing by that I need, and the only thing is that I got to buy some more parts because I need some more bolts and stuff, and I'm gonna have to fix these manifolds if I can't get these studs out, I got some other manifolds I can throw on here, but I'd like to keep those because my exhaust. Actually, if I can't get the studs out, I'm gonna put my headers on there. Why not give it a few extra horses for all my work? Well, the Mazda went pretty smooth, so of course something's got to fight me, right? So whenever I was hammering on that bolt that I was trying to, stud I was trying to get out of the bottom, the exhaust manifold cracked. So we're going with headers, but I got one bolt that won't let loose. I don't know if it makes sense to break these pieces off, but I'm going to try to get that one off. They were in pretty poor shape. I threw one down here. The one I had to knock out. Check this out. That looks like a water bolt, you know, for a water pump, but that's how bad this bolt looked that was next to the one that's stuck in there. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna keep going on this. We've got a few more hours before it's dark, you know, and then I'm gonna call it a day, but hey, it is what it is. Here's the new freeze plugs installed. At least we've made some progress, so I'm gonna keep hammering away at this bad boy, and she's gonna keep fighting me, but I'll win. All right, I got that one off clean after a lot of effort, but it didn't break inside the block, although there are some pieces of cast iron because I had to basically break that manifold off. So let's go ahead and see what's going to happen here. That one came out. Let me set the camera up somewhere. Somewhere, somehow. There we go. One-handed, not the way to go. But that one came out. It's got some damage too. The exhaust flows right there for all the cylinders. All right. Okay. Two more, baby. Now I'm gonna have problems aligning my power steering, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Okay, that's everything. I'm gonna put this one up here. Later. Not my dipstick tube. Okay. Now we are firmly in the process of reinstallation of everything, which is where I'm gonna shut it down. Let's face it, it's been a day. Okay, ready to get day 2 going on this C10. Just got a bag of bolts here. hopefully everything's gonna go real nice and smooth. Had some issues with the camera. I had lots of bolts breaking, lots of missing bolts. So anyways, now we're on the reinstallation phase, and we're gonna get to it. As before, I'm gonna keep the time lapse going so these videos aren't like 3-4 hours long, which is, you know, you don't want to know how long it really takes to do this. But yesterday was day 1, today's day 2, and we're gonna get cracking. Got the motor mounts on with new bolts and new lock washers. Hit them with the impact. There we go, you can see. And I got new bolts for the center. They didn't have grade 8 7/16, but anyways, I'll use those. And I went ahead and put a new bolt here where there was one that was loose and missing the nut, I guess, so it wasn't really loose, it was just hanging out. And instead of doing like they did with using nuts, I used a bunch of washers. I didn't know what size bushing I would need, so we went ahead and put that baby in, and we're gonna go for it. This thing's a little funky looking, but it's gonna do the trick. I wish they had bolted it in better when they first put this truck together, but hey, I got what I got, right? One day we go big block, we'll beef that stuff up a little bit, but right now that 350, she ain't even making 300 pounds of torque would be my guess. So I'm not too worried about it. So we're gonna get the time lapse going, and we're gonna stab this engine back in, hopefully with no issues. I got all new bolts for the transmission, and those top 2 bolts were missing from the transmission. So of course the dipstick was never in there tight, so we're gonna do that right and put a bolt through the dipstick tube, hold that in place like it's supposed to be. And that's how we're gonna go. I'll put the headers on afterwards. It looks like I got plenty of room to fit the headers in up from below, or maybe even from the top, who knows. So I'm not going to put the headers on yet, and I'll cut those pipes off kind of far back because I might be able to use some of that pipe for my Camaro, and that'd save me a lot of time and energy and money. So here we go, getting a time lapse, engine going back in. Okay, the motor's in. Like I said, new motor mounts. We got, can you even see it in there? There it is, fresh bolt, right, to the motor mount. Here, this is still a little suspicious, but like I showed you before, we got the other bolts. Now all we gotta do is start hooking everything back up. Guess I'll put the starter in next. You see the nice new freeze plug. Like I said, the bolts, right? Can you see the new bolt in there? Oh, you can. There it is. That's a new bolt holding to the motor mount. Like I said, would have liked to got the grade 8, but they didn't have 7/16 over there. I'm gonna try and see if the starter goes on without any issue. Then we'll go with the headers, and then I'll figure out if I need to cut them pipes or not. I'm thinking I'm gonna cut them because I'm gonna use the headers with those header mufflers, and I'm gonna try to sneak that one in without removing the muffler. And I might try to do the same with that one. It's gonna be tighter fit with the shifter linkages. That's the only thing I'm concerned about on that side. But I'm gonna get the time lapse going some more, and we're gonna keep moving forward on this baby. Got to put the radiator in, and then the fan shroud. Well, fan shroud and fan at the same time, basically. You know, lots of stuff. Well, okay, guys and girls, I've been at this for a while. It was fighting me. Also, I got sidetracked by some other stuff in my real world life. But we got the engine in. The headers are gonna work. There's gonna be some adjustment to the headers at the bottom. I'll probably have to get a funky little adapter or something going on there, because it's coming too close to the cross member on the bottom. I'll show you. Somebody's calling me. Hold on. All right, where was I? We got the headers, we got the carb, we got the freaking carburetor linkages and stuff hooked up. Actually got the intake bolted back together. You know, you take 2 bolts off the intake for the puller. I never did like pulling the engine by the carburetor because it's a little bitty studs. I mean, little bolts. I always like pulling from the intake, but whatever. Anyways, tomorrow I have confidence I'll finish this job. Let me show you the problem down below. So you see right here, we're gonna have a clearance issue, and I don't know what kind of homemade stuff's going on here with this cross member, but I could cut a section of that cross member out. But I think what I'm gonna try to do is find something that fits that flange and then dumps down. We were going all the exhaust through a skinny little pipe, so you can see the difference in size. And like I mentioned before, the engine's making about 165 horsepower most likely. With the upgraded intake and carburetor and headers, we're probably still not even making 200. So I'm not so worried about, you know, pinching that pipe off a little bit. The driver's side looks like it'll work with just a minor dip down, or maybe none at all. Maybe I can just bend the pipe a little bit. But that's what we're going to be working on tomorrow. And get the radiator in, get the hoses in, hook the fuel line back up. But we're making progress. I'm going to shut it down for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and put the air cleaner on top. Nah, it's not really accessible. Either way, I don't think it's going to rain. So I'm going to put my tools up, shut the hood. Well, here we are again. It's the 3rd day I've been working on this thing. Off camera, I did modify this other alternator bracket to become a power steering bracket. Don't ask too many questions. You can do things like that if you're not afraid. And the alignment doesn't look too bad, so you know, this is what we got. I just drilled a hole in it here that had this hole already, and we used a little slot on both sides, and we can get some adjustment out of it. This belt's a little bit on the tall side. It's not, I don't think it's the right belt for these pulleys, but that's what we got, guys. So anyways, here you go. You can see the alignment. It's much better than what I had before, because what I had before was just a belt going from the water pump to the power steering only, and it wasn't going around the crank. So now we're gonna get the crank powering both correctly. So this isn't staying this way. I just put these bolts here instead of these long ones, you know, that it takes because of the fan spacer and all that. So anyways, I'm gonna get a time lapse running. Off camera, I'm gonna go ahead and put the starter on, because there's not a, you know, the camera angle and the lighting and everything under the car is not the best. So I'm gonna get that going. And then after that I'll get the time lapse going, and we'll be getting the radiator in, the fan shroud, and we're gonna hook up the distributor wiring. That wiring's still hooked up to the starter, and we're not gonna be too far away from cranking this baby over. Fill it up with water. I got about 1.5 gallons of antifreeze, and then I'll fill up the rest of it with water. It should be fine for the summertime here in Texas. It's not like we're gonna freeze again anytime soon, and if we do, it won't be a hard freeze unless something super dramatic happens, which, you know, who knows. But anyways, we still got a mess going here. This is all the stuff I pulled out working on this and other projects. But there's the radiator, there's the fan with the spacer, and there's the starter with all the wiring still hooked to it, right? I did that on purpose, so there's no guesswork. I'm just gonna bring it in there and put it on. All right, well, catch me in a couple of minutes here when I start the time lapse. For you, it'll be instantaneous. I'm pretty much beat here, but so is the project. So the only thing left is going to be exhaust. I'm not going to drive it, but I am going to go ahead and crank her up and see how it sounds. Watch the water circulate, turn green, because you know the antifreeze went in first and it hasn't mixed yet. So I'm going to crank on it. It's going to crank a little bit because it's going to need to pump some fuel up. And then we're going to start it and see how it runs. It shouldn't be out of timing or anything because I didn't move the distributor. So it's going to be louder though because of the open headers. We'll see how it goes. Just checking to see if any gas is pumping up. Oh yeah, it pumped up quite quick. So, oh yeah, we got gas. Checking those belt alignments. I'm gonna let that sucker idle for a while just to see if I develop any leaks, and if not, then I just have to wait for my header collectors to come in the mail, and then I'm gonna try to adopt those factory, well not factory, but those pipes that came with it to it, and if not, I'll run some pipes straight out the back, and I'll probably hook these Flowmasters to it then, if that's the case. I got a set of Flowmasters. So it should be sounding good and it should be driving good, and I'll update you guys when I'm able to test drive it. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. I'm gonna go ahead and make this video kind of a fast one, I should say. It's not gonna be fast in time, but everything's gonna be moving fast with the removal, installation of the new parts, and up until this point. So hopefully it's not too boring. I'm gonna try to keep it around 20 minutes, so there's gonna be a lot of time lapse and music in the background, but I hope you enjoy.